Hello, welcome to the Suburban Appalachia channel. Glad to have you with us today. It's a rainy day here in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and had an old-timey recipe on my mind for a couple of weeks. It's called Slaw éternelle, and it's a cabbage recipe, and we have here in the Blue Ridge Mountains and Appalachian Mountains different countless numbers of slaw recipes, but this is called Slaw éternelle. It's absolutely delicious, and it's an old recipe, very old, but the reason they call it Slaw éternelle is it keeps for a very long time. You can make this and put it in your refrigerator and keep it for up to 2 weeks. And it's a little different. This is not a mayonnaise-based slaw, so it does keep longer, but it's called Slaw éternelle. And we're going to go ahead and get started by making the dressing for it. And we need to do that first because we've got some vegetables to cut up. This is one of the last cabbages we'll get out of our garden, or summer garden this year. We'll have some this fall. We have also a whole onion goes in the recipe, and a green pepper. And I picked a really ripe pepper, and that's all the solid ingredients that goes into it. But while our sauce or dressing is cooking or warming up, then we'll get to processing these vegetables and cutting them up. But this is called Slaw éternelle. It's absolutely delicious. It's wonderful for a Sunday dinner. It's just wonderful anytime. But the first thing we're going to do is here on the hot plate, we're going to get this pan heating up. And into this pan, we're going to add a cup of apple cider vinegar. And we're not looking to boil this mixture, it's just to heat it up so everything dissolves. So we're going to take a cup of apple cider vinegar. And as you can see, that cabbage is pretty good size anyway, but the recipe calls for a cup of vinegar. It calls for a half a cup of salad oil. The recipe's that old, so it's the same thing as vegetable oil. So we'll use a half a cup of vegetable oil, and it's vegetable oil of your choice. That goes in. Then it calls for a cup of sugar. And here's a half a cup going in there, and we'll get another half a cup. And like I say, this slaw is easy to make, it's delicious, and it's a very, very old recipe. It's something that's vintage. If you're into vintage cooking, this is a good recipe to try, and it's very easy. Now, it also calls for a tablespoon of salt. And I like kosher salt. You can use whatever salt you want. But coarse ground kosher salt. It goes into the pan. Then it calls for 2 tablespoons of celery seed, dried celery seed. And it adds just a deliciousness to it. But I've had this dish many times at church dinners over the years. My wife makes it. And I wanted to show you how easy it is to make. So what we're looking for, we've got this on the little cooktop here, is all we're wanting to do is stir all this up and get everything married together. We're not going to boil it. We're not going to boil it. We're just looking to heat it up and to get everything mingled together and mixed together well. And as you know me, if you follow my cooking, I love vinegar. Anything with vinegar in it, it's delicious. That's why I like pickles. So, but cabbage is an overlooked vegetable sometimes. But here in the mountains and where I grew up, it was a food staple. But cabbage is delicious. It's good for you. It's overlooked a lot of times, and I'm hoping this winter to do a lot of cabbage recipes. We have some cabbage casseroles. It's absolutely delicious. But we're going to heat this up, and if it does boil a little bit, it ain't going to hurt anything because this is going to cool off before we put it over our slaw. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this pepper up, and you can see this pepper has a bad spot in it. A lot of vegetables do that toward the end of the season. But as you can see, a decent sized pepper, and if you don't have the pepper this big, you know, you can use a smaller one. But it just is really, really good in this eternal slaw, and it keeps forever. It'll keep in the refrigerator, like I say, for up to 2 weeks. It's good if you're going on a family picnic and you don't have refrigeration. It's a very good alternative to mayonnaise-based slaw. This slaw uses no mayonnaise. And of course, we have recipes for some mayonnaise slaw. Based slaw we'll make later this winter. We love it. But I just thought some of you, it's still summer, still pretty warm here. Starting to cool off a little bit. But we're just chopping this up. I don't know if you can see. We're just chopping this up. And we'll go ahead and put it into our bowl here shortly. When we mix everything together with the cabbage. And this recipe will feed several people. Of course, I'm going to use this whole head of cabbage. And our cabbage done very well this year. Of course, if you've watched our videos, you saw the sauerkraut recipe we done. Turned out very good. And I usually try to wait till it gets colder weather and I've done opened the jar. But we love cabbage. Cabbage is good for you, and as I say, it's a overlooked vegetable nowadays. But it's good. And here in the mountains where we live, we grow cabbage very well. It grows good here. This year was an exceptional year in our garden for it. And I thank God for it, because it's, yes, you can go out and buy all this cabbage if you don't have a garden, or all these vegetables, and that's fine. We like to grow our own food. Some years it does better than others, and some years we make more than we can eat, and we try to pass it on to others. But you can take a small amount of land and make plenty to feed your family. You don't need a whole big homestead, and all these big farms has all these acres. You really don't have to have that to grow food for your family. You can take several large flower beds and cook and feed your family to give you plenty. Keep an eye on that. Okay, I'm just going to push this right here to the side till we get ready to put it into the cabbage. And I'm going to go ahead and peel this onion. And I'm going to cheat a little bit on my onion when I run run this cabbage through a food processor. I will do my onion then. You can chop it up with a knife, or if you don't have a food processor, you can use a grater or chop it up with your knife. Not a problem. But what we're going to do is keep an eye on what's in the pot here, and I can tell you it already smells delicious. It's already smelling good. It's starting to heat up, and that's all we're looking for. We want to dissolve the sugar into the vinegar, of course dissolve the salt, and start getting those celery seeds hot, because that's where the flavor's at. Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut up, split the cabbage open here so you can see it. And this is the cabbage we grew ourselves, and it done very well this year. We made, look at there, it split immediately, split right open. And as you can see, beautiful cabbage. And we'll quarter this, and then I'll get out the old food processor. And you can do this with a grater. You can do it with a knife. Any way you choose to do it. You can cut it coarse for your slaw. I actually like mine fine. Me and my wife both likes our slaw to be fine. But it's a personal preference. And sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I'll just take a knife and cut up the cabbage. Coarse chop it. Some things are better. Now, of course, when we cook cabbage, it's coarse chopped. But for slaw, we like ours fine. But this is heating up really nice. And I'm going to keep stirring this until everything's dissolved. And I'm going to go ahead and prepare the food processor. I will show you how I shred cabbage and what food processor I prefer. I've been blessed. And there we go. It's just starting to boil. I'm going to turn off the burner and set this here to cool, because we want this to cool completely. And that's all you're looking for, is just to heat it up. And that's what we have. And it smells so good already. But we'll be right back, and I'll show you how I cut up cabbage. And I'll show you one of the blessings I have. I have a Cuisinart food processor that works great. And I'll show you how I do it. Thank you. Now, welcome back. We got our dressing sitting in the refrigerator so it'll cool off. And I was going to show you my setup for shredding cabbage. It's Cuisinart mixer. It's 11-cup mixer. Food processor, but it has wheels that comes with it. And it works very well. And I've done some modifications on mine to adapt it to do cabbage. Of course, you saw me using it when we made the kraut and the mixed pickles. But I'm just going to go through this, and this is going to be loud, but I'll show you how quick I've got my cabbage quartered up. And like I say, this is modifications that I've made to the mixer itself. So don't try this at home, but this is a perfectly good food processor. It's one of the better ones I've ever used. And I got it reconditioned, and it works just great. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and get it going. And I'll take my cabbage, and I'll show you how quick it works. Very powerful. There's 1/4. You about can do a whole cabbage before you have to dump it. Works really well. And like I say, I'm in my basement. It throws cabbage everywhere, but that's okay. I can sweep up when I finish up. We'll keep on going. Be done in just a little bit. And I'll keep doing this one, and we'll be back in just a little while, and we'll show you what it looks like when we get shredded. I got most of the cabbage shredded up, and we were going to show you how fast it'll chop up onions. I've got like a little bit of cabbage left in here. It's all going to the same place, and this is just so much easier than trying to do it by hand. And just wanted to show you how easy it is. And like I say, this mixer was bought reconditioned, and it's performed very well. I've been well pleased with it. And like I say, if you don't have a food processor, drop some onions, that's okay. If you don't have a food processor, that's okay. You can use a knife or a grater. Okay. Now, we've got that taken care of. I'm going to go ahead and get some of the goodies out from around the lid here. Don't want none of that to go to waste, because this is going to marinate overnight. with the dressing we've made. And here's some more onions laying on top of that. Now in this bowl here, I've already put the chopped green peppers that we had. But we'll go ahead and put all this together now. But I want to show you how I've done my onions. You can do it with a knife. I'm lazy, but it works good. As you can see, a large amount of slaw. So what we're going to do is clean up a little bit, and when we come back, we'll be ready to put the dressing on, and we'll finish this dish up. And this is Slaw Eternal. It keeps for a long time in your refrigerator. Hope you'll give it a try. But we'll be back. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with me. We've got all of our stuff cleaned up, and as you can see, we have the onions, the cabbage, and the bell pepper right here. We used the whole cabbage head, one onion, large onion, and one green bell pepper. And we've had our delicious dressing in the refrigerator cooling off, and now you just simply pour this over your cabbage. It smells so good. And stir it up and mix it up well. I wish you could smell what this smells like. It smells so good. Absolutely delicious. But what we're going to do now is, after we stir this up, is we'll put it in a container and put it in the refrigerator overnight. And actually you can eat this anytime you'd like, but it's better if you let it marinate overnight in the refrigerator. And this will keep up to 2 weeks in refrigeration. So it's a good recipe for if you're going on a picnic or going for something for a church supper or a reunion or a party, and they ask you that somebody wants to bring some coleslaw. This is a good recipe to keep. It keeps very well. And overnight, the green pepper will add a flavor along with the onions, and it'll just be delicious. And the celery seed that's in there gives it such a wonderful flavor. But I hope you enjoyed this recipe. It's easy to do. And as you can see, it's ready to go in the refrigerator. We'll put it in a container. And the longer it sits, the better it gets. But thank you for joining us for this Slaw Eternal recipe, and I hope you'll try this at home. Thank you for watching the Suburban Appalachia channel. We really appreciate your views, and if you like our videos, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And I hope y'all have a blessed day until we see you again next time. But again, thank everyone for their kind comments and supporting us. Y'all have a good day. We have stirred this up real good. I wanted to do a post follow-up video here a little bit at the end of just how good this is. I didn't taste test it in front of you. I don't know if you can see this. Absolutely spectacular. And this will be even better tomorrow. God bless you. See you again next time.